Good afternoon, dear students. In the previous class, I explained you the answers of the questions that I have asked you in the first video. So, today we are going to continue the classes. Today we will start uniform motion and non-uniform motion. So, last class I have explained you distance, displacement. What is the difference between distance and displacement? So today we will come to different types of motion. Broadly, motion is two types. First one is uniform motion. Second one is non-uniform motion. So what is a uniform motion? The object covers equal distances in equal intervals of time. So this is the definition of uniform motion. So we need to understand this. Here there is an object that covers equal distance in equal interval of times. So what is equal distance? If I give an example, suppose from point A to point B the object is moving, again from point B to point C to point D, like that. So the distance between A to B and B to C and C to D is exactly equal to each other. For example, suppose the distance between A to B is 1 kilometer. So the distance between B to C is also 1 kilometer. The distance between C to D is also 1 kilometer. So whatever the distance, it should be same for the two consecutive points. Okay. Now suppose the time interval, it should also be same. From A to B, suppose the object takes 5 minutes to cover 1 kilometer. Same time should be taken by the object to cover from point B to C and also from C to D. Okay, so this type of motion is called uniform motion. That means distance between 2 points and the time taken is always same. That is uniform motion. If I again simplify this one, suppose from your house to a shop, suppose the distance is 100 meter. From that shop to another shop, the distance is again 100 meter. From your house to the shop, if you want to go, you take 2 minutes. Suppose from the first shop to the next shop, 2 minutes is required if you want to go from the first shop to the second shop. So distance is same, time is also same. So this is called uniform motion. Okay. Now in case of non-uniform motion, what is it? Object covers unequal distance in equal times. So here the time interval is same, okay, but the distance interval is not same. Suppose from point A the object has started its motion, it will go to point B, then from B to point C, then point C to point D. Okay, now from point A to point B, suppose the distance is 500 meter. From B to C the distance is 1 kilometer. From C to D the distance is 700 meter. But the time duration is same. That is from A to B it is 5 minutes, B to C 5 minutes, C to D is 5 minutes. So here the time duration is same, but the distance, these are different. So in case of uniform motion, both the distance, that is equal distance between two consecutive points, and the equal time between two consecutive points. But here in case of non-uniform motion, the distance is not equal between two consecutive points, but the time is equal between two consecutive points for the motion of the body. Okay. So I hope you could understood what is uniform and non-uniform motion. Okay. Now let us continue this one. So with keeping this one in mind, we need to see what is speed and what is velocity. Now last class I have explained you distance. and displacement. Speed is related to distance, velocity is related to displacement. Now what is speed? Distance traveled per unit time. See, distance. What is distance? You know, in last class I have explained you. Distance is any path between 2 points. It could be any curve. It doesn't have any direction. So per unit time means we can consider 1 unit of time. In general, unit time is considered as a second. It can also be considered as hour. So I'll explain you this one. Let's suppose a person is walking from point A to point B irrespective of the path. Why irrespective of the path? Because here we are talking about distance. Okay, so suppose a person is walking from point A to point B, and the distance is 5 kilometers. Okay. Now that person require half an hour to travel that much distance, 5 kilometers. So what is speed? Distance traveled. How much distance the person is traveling? 5 kilometers. Per means divided by. Divided by what is the time? Time is, as I told you. Okay. So if you take distance as a numerator and time as denominator and cancel it out, then whatever the value you will get, that is known as speed. For example, suppose distance is 10 meter, time is 5 seconds. So 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2 meter per second. So that is speed. So the unit of speed can be either in meter per second or kilometer per hour. Here per means divided by. Distance will be in numerator, time will be in denominator. Now, if the distance is in meter, time will be in second. If the distance is in kilometer, time will be in hour. It is meter per second or kilometer per hour. That is the speed. Now what is velocity? Speed and velocity are same thing. There is only one very simple difference. That is, as distance does not have any direction, speed also does not have any direction. Displacement has a particular direction, so velocity is also having a particular direction. That is, velocity is the displacement traveled per unit time. That is, total displacement traveled divided by total time taken. Suppose a person is walking along a straight path, straight line from 2 points, that is from point A to point B, and the displacement is 50 meter. The time taken by the person is 50 seconds. Okay, so 50 meter is traveled by the person in 50 seconds. Okay. So what is the total displacement travel? 50 meter. What is the total time taken? 50 seconds. So 50 meter divided by 50 seconds, that is 1 meter per second. So here velocity is 1 meter per second. The only difference between speed and velocity is speed does not have any particular direction. Velocity has a particular direction. Okay. Now next one is average speed. What is average speed? See, as you know that speed does not have any direction. So average speed is the total distance traveled divided by total time taken. Okay. What is the total distance traveled by the body? And what is the total time taken by the body? That is average speed. Now suppose there is a person, there is an uncle called Ramu Kaka. Ramu Kaka is traveling from point A, from your house to his house, again his house to your school, again your school to your house. The total distance traveled is suppose 15 kilometer. Now that 15 kilometer needs suppose 1 hour. Okay, 1 hour time. So 15 kilometer divided by 1 hour. As I told you, if the numerator, that is the distance or displacement, will be in kilometer, time will be in hour. If the numerator, that is the distance or displacement, is in meter, then denominator, that is time, will be in second. Okay, so total distance traveled divided by total time taken, that is average speed. Okay, now keeping this one in mind, see there is an example. An object travels 16 meter in 4 seconds and then another 16 meter in 2 seconds. So there is some point A. From point A to point B it's 16 meter. From point B to point C is also 16 meter. Okay, so in first 16 meter, that is from point A to point B, the object is taking 4 seconds. Second 16 meter, that is from point B to point C, the object is taking 2 seconds. What is the average speed of the object? Okay, so here you need to calculate average speed. So what is average speed? As I told you earlier, average speed is the total distance traveled. Here whatever the distance is given, you need to add it, divided by total time. Whatever the time given, you need to add it. So that is how to solve this question. What is the total distance? 16 meter plus 16 meter, that will be numerator, divided by what is the total time? 4 seconds plus 2 seconds, that will be 6 seconds. So 32 meter divided by 6 seconds. Okay, now you can cancel this one and you can get the answer. Okay. Now let us come to the detailed explanation of velocity. Velocity is nothing but speed with direction. Okay, velocity is the speed of an object moving in a definite direction. If an object is moving in a particular direction, a definite direction, in a straight line. Okay, so the velocity of an object can be uniform or variable. The velocity can be uniform, it can be variable. Like suppose you are walking along a straight path. It doesn't mean that you will walk with the same pace. Sometimes you might run, sometimes you walk slowly, sometimes you can walk very fast, like that. So if the person is walking, if the body is moving with one particular velocity, that is called uniform velocity. Variable velocity means the person is increasing its velocity or decreasing velocity. Suppose you are riding your scooty or your bike. Sometimes you accelerate, sometimes you decelerate, sometimes you put brake. So the velocity changes. Those kinds of velocity is known as variable velocity. Suppose your velocity is constant, like 45 km per hour or 50 km per hour exactly, then that is called uniform velocity. Now it can be changed by changing the object speed, direction or motion or both. Now, as I told you that velocity is a vector quantity. Okay, so what is vector? This might be a new word. A vector is the quantity that is having both magnitude. Magnitude is a value, a numerical value, and direction. So if any quantity having both magnitude as well as a direction, like velocity is an example, it is known as vector quantity. Scalar means it is having only magnitude, it does not have any direction. Okay, so it can be changed by changing object speed, direction of motion or both. Now here you might get confused that this is this definition of velocity. Why the speed is coming here? Now see, what is velocity? If you add a particular direction with the speed, it becomes velocity. What is the difference between speed and velocity? Velocity is having a particular direction, speed is not having a particular direction. So if you add direction with the speed, it becomes velocity. Okay, so if speed will change, that means the numerical value will change, so velocity will change. If the direction will change, so velocity will also change, because velocity depends upon speed as well as direction, the magnitude as well as direction. So velocity depends upon numerical value, that is speed, and direction of motion or both. Okay. So in case the velocity of the object is changing at a uniform rate. Now what is the meaning of uniform rate? Now if the velocity of the object, the velocity is not constant, it is changing, but the change is uniform. Like suppose a body is moving by 1 kilometer. Each 100 meter the velocity is increased by 5 meter per second. Like suppose from 0 meter to 100 meter the velocity is, the body is moving with 10 meter per second velocity. Okay. From 100 to 200 meter, 10 plus 5, 15 meter per second, that is the velocity. from the next coming 100 meter, it will be 15 plus 5, 20 meter per second, like that. So in case the velocity of the object is changing at a uniform rate, then the average velocity is given by the arithmetic mean of initial velocity and final velocity for a given period of time. That is, if the velocity of the object is changing at a uniform rate, then how to calculate average velocity? Initial velocity plus final velocity. This will be in numerator, that is initial velocity plus final velocity, whole divided by 2, that is 2 is in denominator. Then mathematically it can be written as VAV. AV stands for average, capital V stands for velocity. Average velocity equal to U can be considered as initial velocity, plus V can be considered as final velocity, divided by 2. Okay. Now here are some of the questions. Distinguish between speed and velocity. Under what condition or conditions the magnitude of average velocity of an object equal to its average speed? What does the odometer of an automobile measure? What does the path of an object look like when it is in uniform motion? Last question. During an experiment, a signal from a spaceship reached the ground station in 5 minutes. What was the distance of the spaceship from the ground station? The signal traveled at a speed of light, that is 3 into 10 to the power 8. This is 10 to raised to the power 8 meter per second. That is meter divided by second. Okay. So try to solve these questions. If you have any doubt, ask me your doubt. In the coming videos, I'll be solving these questions and I'll clear all of your doubts. Okay, thank you.